much. And I am supposed to.
Oh.
Pardon me?
Just really quick, we have a new audio system, so if you'd like to speak, everyone should have a microphone in front of them or shared between two people. You click the button with the person on it to speak, it's not a hold. You click it, speak, and then when you're done, turn it off. And we also have microphones up top there, and they're really good. They're very sensitive, so they can pick up side conversations, so try to keep that to a minimum. Thank you.
I think I just learned how to turn it off and turn it on, which is simply press the button once to turn it on.
Yeah.
And press it again to turn it off.
Yep, that's all you need.
Well, I didn't botch that one. Okay, it looks, I'm supposed to ask Kelly if we have a forum, but it doesn't look like we have a. Do we have?
We do not have a quorum.
Okay, so we'll press ahead and that's an informational session.
Correct.
More or less. Okay, cool. Okay, well, let's do the pledge of allegiance. The flag is right here. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have one person has signed up for public comment. That's Mr. Williams. You have the floor.
All right, thank you. I'm Danny Williams with Sarasota Mobility Alliance, and I'm here to make a suggestion that we consider combining a couple of projects that are going on in the county now. The preservation of the Blackburn Point Swing Bridge has been a big thing. We've had other committees and other groups that have gone through how that aging, hard to maintain bridge should be replaced by a more modern bridge, but then a loud group wants to keep that bridge for historical purposes. I'd like to suggest we consider moving that old span to a new life as a pedestrian bridge. There's a couple of places in the county that seem this would make a good fit. The length of the span fits the length that would be needed. The first one is up on the screen. That seems the primary best use for that is getting across the little tributary of Philippi Creek from Bobby Jones Nature Park to 17th Street Park. So Circus Trail is all coming together now. I think we had a ribbon cutting out at Bobby Jones. The piece that keeps bicyclists from traversing that way rather than going down Circus Boulevard to 17th Street is this bridge. So putting the Blackburn Point Swing Bridge there lets people go see it. It's historic, put up a marker, and it still does good use. If you want to scroll up one more, I really think that's like the primary place that would be useful. Other places are reconnecting Hyde Park for an east-west alternative to Bay Vista and Weber. Both Bay Vista and Weber are kind of treacherous on a bicycle. So that gives one's at the top of the screen, one's at the bottom of the screen. This is right down the middle, which gives an east-west alternative there. The third and stretch one is in Venice. So we can go ahead and scroll up a little more. And if that picture didn't. Okay, then I'll just tell you about it. Foxworthy Park is east of Bypass 41 in Venice. Bypass 41 is a terrible route for cyclists going up and down there. This would give an alternative, beginning of an alternative. So there's not much on the other side of it, but there is a gap between the businesses and the trailer park to get down to Center Road, to get down to Detweiler's. So there's other places for it to be. A 150-foot long span is very hard to transfer by land. It would have to be cut into pieces. I imagine that's how it was done 100 years ago when it was put in. So some cutting, some welding, 3 trucks. Let's do that. That's all I have to say about that. Thanks.
Questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Have you reviewed the minutes? Anybody want a motion to approve?
We don't have a quorum today.
No, that's right. All right. Next time. All right, presentations, FDOT report.
Good afternoon. This is just a quick little catch up on what's going on with, there's the controller. So a quick little agenda, I'm just going to catch you up on the Cortez Road Vision and Action Plan and then some new upcoming projects that FDOT has. Our Cortez Road Corridor Vision and Action Plan, we are meeting with everyone right now to work on finalizing the draft report that we have. Last week, we met with Manatee County, the City of Bradenton, and the Sarasota Manatee MPO to discuss it. We will be scheduling meetings with individual commissioners to go through it some more and work towards finalizing the report. So that's moving forward. And then right now, what's going on, I have a few projects that are coming up for our scoping and going through design. So I'm just sharing these with you so that I can get input if you have any needs, desires along that, because that helps me in my conversations with our design group as support for the facilities that we have. And sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge, and the more support I have behind me, it helps. So that's why I'm just throwing these out there. These are not projects that we have funded through construction or have them scheduled yet. They're just getting through scoping and design right now. So this first one is on State Route 64 from Perico Bay Boulevard to west of 43rd Street West. We already have 12-foot lanes with that, and there's paved shoulder, there's some sidewalk, and we do have the bridge. So there's a lot going on out there. I know that we've gotten requests from citizens to try and improve that. There's only so much right of way that we have. So that's the restriction we have. And right now, the funding that this project is under is a POP project. So it's pavement only. So I can't do sidewalk. I'm not doing anything. The most we can do is looking at lane widths and what kind of improvements can be made with the existing shoulder and things like that. But just wanted to let you know and get any other input you may have for that, if there's anything.
We also heard a request about a follow-up from an item from before with using green paint for bike lanes. It was specifically asked about this, so just did my due diligence.
That's fine. Currently going through FDM, and by that with our DDE, green paint can only be used at intersections. There's very few full intersections along this route. So that is where we're at, following what's in the FDM guidelines. So that's what happens with the green paint. We're working on it, and I keep promoting it, but until we can get any updates or changes to how the green paint and where it's applied, that's the struggle we have right now.
Okay, great. Are you still looking at pilot projects for using green paint?
Potentially, everything,
Yeah.
it's good information to have, because when we suddenly get the go-ahead, we're ready to
Then you
go.
have an inventory to
it's-
work from. Yeah. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So that's the first project. If anyone had anything to say, just let me know. And that was just to give you a quick, that I got from our 4P group, just some of the lane widths and typical sections for the roadway that we have. Next one is going to be out on US 19 by the South Mount Junction. Right now, there's 12-foot lanes that has shoulder that goes between 4 and 6 feet. And then there's the bridge with 12-foot lanes and 4 to 6 feet of paved shoulder. So if anything, if we wanted more of a space for the bikes, I could try to get a foot from each side and knock down the lanes a little bit, but that's about all, just that we can get everyone going through it. Another one is on State Route 72 from the state park over to Deer Prairie Street. I know there's a lot of subdivisions going up out in this area, so we'll see what happens. And then just so you know, there are some safety projects that are going on. So we have one on Business 41. There's gonna be a pedestrian mid-block crossings. And that's not letting till May of 27 for construction. Then there's the resurfacing for the Legacy Trail extension, and that's happening. The notice to proceed was done in June 26th, but they had 120 days delayed start, so that's coming soon. And another resurfacing with median modifications, that's letting in July of 27. So those are some safety projects. So those are smaller areas, and that's what our safety group goes after. They're looking at their data and what the needs are at that point. So I got that information from them.
Before you go on, can you go back to that slide real quick? Where is the pedestrian mid-block crossing on Business 41?
I haven't gotten the full set of drawings yet, but I will get back to you with the exact locations on it. Like I said, I got these from my safety group, so that's on that side. I will verify with John and Amy what specific locations they have.
All right, thank you.
And then I'm just gonna ask, we are always looking for areas that you think are of interest to look at for bike ped and planning reviews so that we can go out in the field, see what's happening, take more of our systems planning group and safety with us and go through that. So if you have any locations or ideas, let me know so we can add that to our list of fun things to do. And any events that you have coming up and you would like our presence at, please let me know. We can see what we can do. And then obviously that works with the CTST and all that group as well. Yes, Rich?
Tanya, I got a question. We have a lot of grass encroachment on 4-foot bike lanes, especially on University and other roads. Is there any plans to address that over the next 12 months? I know University Parkway now is down about two feet, and it scares me when I'm riding on that road, but I see a lot of other people riding it. I'm just wondering if there's any plans for maintenance on grass encroachment on existing highways.
We don't have anything on that specifically, and that's not our roadway, and the counties have to figure out how they're gonna do. That's part of their maintenance schedule, so that's contacting
Okay.
that side.
It's not enough to have that problem on University. Okay.
But like I said, talk to your individual counties, and since it's split between Manatee and
Yeah, it's tough.
Sarasota,
It's
it's
tough.
right in that area. But it's the same thing on all the state roadways. It's, when it gets to that point, it's talking to the maintenance group and seeing what their schedule is and what can be done, just like we do with the sweeping and anything else when there's encroachment.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. And as always, if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, I'm available.
Any questions? Thank you, Tanya. I understand we have a quorum,
We do.
so we will call the meeting to order. And we'll take a motion to approve the minutes if you've had a chance to review them.
I will approve the minutes.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Great. Okay, Nick, MPO report.
So this one's just a really quick FYI, we're opening up our annual call for projects this October. We're gonna be scheduling town tours with all jurisdictions. They all offer a virtual option as well as meeting either here or at the municipal building, wherever. So we're just trying to get touch base, talk to each other, see what's everyone's interested in submitting. It's gonna be the same process as usual this time around. And then this brings us to the 2026 crash report. So this is kind of a two-parter. It's now that it's been several months since the day has been more or less finalized for 2025, we can go through and look at some of the trends that we saw last year. And just as a reminder, we are tasked with monitoring safety performance measures, the number and rate of fatalities, the number and rate of serious injuries, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And those rates are calculated per 100 million daily vehicle miles traveled, and the targets are 5-year rolling averages. So as with our Destination Zero branding, the goal again was for adopted safety targets of 0 across the board. So 2025 in review, we saw close to 22,000 total crashes, 80 fatalities, 720 serious injuries. And of that, 34 fatalities were bicyclists and pedestrians, and 126 serious injuries were bicyclists and pedestrians. And I just wanted to plug, we have our traffic fatalities dashboard that goes from 2014 to 2025. Set up a link for that later. So looking at annual trends, this was actually the first time that fatalities were under 100 since 2014. So still certainly way too high, but is showing some improvement. And similarly, we've been plotting serious injuries decreasing by quite a bit as well. And that trend appears to be continuing. And similar to other safety performance reports, we're seeing either modest or little improvement for our bicyclists and pedestrians in comparison. So looking at 5-year rolling averages, which is how we measure performance measures, because those 5 years kind of even out or average those year-to-year fluctuations across the board, comparing our current time band where it's 22 to 26 with projections for 2026. It's improvements across the board other than total crashes, which to some extent is to be expected from such a fast growing population. We see the serious injury rate and count seeing the biggest dip, and pretty good improvements as well for fatalities with bicyclists and pedestrians seeing more modest improvements. So, and then looking at the year to date for 2026, this was pulled up until June 2nd, which is about the halfway point. But I would caution against just doubling these because there is seasonal fluctuations, as well as, it takes time for some data to get uploaded depending on a variety of factors. But so far we're at 44 fatalities in the region, 255 serious injuries, and of those, about 38% have been bicyclists and pedestrians. And I split it out by roadway type to see, to really demonstrate that this is something that not one agency can solve. It requires a lot of different actors coming together and targeting safety improvements. You can see that unsurprisingly, the majority of bike ped crashes by roadway system are local. That's where the most activity is. And but you still see significant amounts on state and US roads. And when you filter out those bike ped crashes, you see similarly where there's more vehicle traffic on state and local roads as well. So again, this is just demonstrating it takes everyone to reach destination zero. And for this, just another dashboard advertisement. We have the year-to-date killed or seriously injured crashes dashboard on our website as well. It takes the Signal 4 data, scrubs out a lot of the data other than what's necessary to kind of look at these trends. So you see the crash type, crash severity, the time, and a couple of filters to look at things like which ones involve aging drivers, distracted driving, and things of that nature. And that's it for the crash report. Want to take any questions?
Do other MPOs around the country keep this level of detail on their traffic fatalities and traffic crashes?
Well, they're all required to do the, to keep track of the rate and count those measures that were on one of the first slides. But past that, a lot of this is our own initiative to kind of better understand the data. And through that, we use that to target and prioritize improvements on the worst corridors, because, you know, there's if we had infinite resources, we could make improvements everywhere, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So we're trying to target the highest value improvements with certain corridors and intersections which are on our high injury network, and which has also gone through an effort of being refined and kind of splitting up into smaller bite-sized chunks.
Just haven't seen that depth of detail in any place else that I've lived.
Take that as a compliment.
Yes. Any other questions for Nick? Go ahead.
So I'm curious how you get a lot of this data.
It's all sourced from Signal 4, which is a data source available to MPOs and local jurisdictions, as well as a number of other agencies. And that essentially law enforcement builds up these crash reports, and then they get uploaded to this unified system across the state of Florida. And there's a lot of, it gets uploaded, and there's QC, like quality control, to make sure the fields match, because there's human error and you're looking at hundreds of thousands of entries. So it's all pulled from there. You can filter. There's honestly so many variables you can look at. It's a little overwhelming, but there's certainly a lot you can do with it.
So it sounds like you're getting a lot of this from the police. You don't get anything from the hospitals?
We have done that by request for our CTST committee, and it was interesting to compare. They do more or less match up, but they certainly have more details in some regards, such as like types of injuries and stuff, but it's certainly not as readily available as Signal 4.
What's the degree of enhancement of the data in comparing it with hospital data? Because we know that what you're getting at Signal 4 has to have a report by a police officer. But I think there's a lot more crashes that take place with cyclists that don't get reported. Is there any improvement taking place on that?
So recalling the effort that we did for CTST to pull hospital data, we certainly saw that there were a lot of crashes that do go unreported, but unfortunately, that's just kind of a limitation that we have to live with. But as far as the most serious and most fatal crashes, those are almost always gonna have a police report of some kind. So, thank you.
Can I add something in there, Nick?
Yeah.
Rich, to go with that question, there's many times like a bicycle will be pedaling down the sidewalk, and then I don't know, whatever happens, a rock falls in front of them, they flip over and a boom, they end up going to the hospital, broken arm. It's not going to qualify as a Florida crash for a crash report.
Right.
Because it's bicycle versus ground. So some of those reports would get registered in the hospital. They came in as a bicycle crash, but it wouldn't be something that law enforcement would be able to track to upload into Signal 4 analytics. So that's kind of where some of the variances come from. Also, we have EMS that'll come out there, they hit the panic button. We'll say this is a trauma alert, call on the helicopter, copter comes in, picks up the kid, transports him to the hospital. We go out there, do a follow-up, and doctor's like, yeah, we're going to release him in a couple hours. He's fine. So sometimes you have those kinds of things where we're writing in there, it's like, serious injury, and then it turns out to be not so serious. So you're going to get those, irregularities in the reporting. That's just,
But there's still some
Human nature.
reporting that's taking place.
right. In a case where a helicopter comes in and, it's a car versus a bicycle, then yes, that's going to get reported as a crash.
That's our concern.
Okay.
Thank you.
So a pedestrian injury, would that also involve a police report? For example, if I'm walking my dog and I trip over my own feet and end up in the hospital, that doesn't get logged in.
No,
No, that wouldn't.
that wouldn't show up either.
Yeah. The question is, should it? But
If you tripped over, like a sidewalk.
Yeah,
had a
that would-
hole in it or
yes,
something,
right.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Right, I mean, there could be an incident report of you tripping on the sidewalk, probably because you're gonna go back to the county or city or whatever. But unless it involves a vehicle, like a car, it's probably not gonna be reported as a crash.
Any idea what under percentage is being reported or how many we're missing?
I don't think it's honestly gonna be that many, because at the end of the day, it really balances out. I mean, most people understand their own clumsiness. And then you can always follow up, like, are there any claims against insurance companies? So I mean, that would be a way to balance the data really. But I think even like Signal 4 isn't pulling anything from like the National Institute of Highway Safety or the Insurance Institute, any of that. So I mean, there's always secondary sources to go and confirm some stuff, but again, it's got to meet the definition of a Florida crash. It's got to be a vehicle versus something there, you know. Thank you.
Any questions for Nick? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We have a Sheila Rainey from the Johns Hopkins E-Bike and Micro Mobility Task Force.
Hello, everyone. I see some familiar faces from our last meeting.
Oh. Well, hello there.
Hello there. Can everybody hear and see me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Amazing. All right, so MPO has my slideshow. We are going to jump into that. This is some general information for you. I work for the Community Affairs and Engagement team. We have an injury prevention team within that umbrella. And my name is Sheila Rainey. I am a community educator with that team. I'm also our bike ped coordinator. I'm also a car seat instructor, which is in my credentials there. Next slide, please. So we are a freestanding hospital with 250 something beds and growing. We are opening another location in the Wesley Chapel area. So we specialize in children's care, usually under the age of 18, but I know if we have someone who is established with our hospital, we do take kids up to 21. Go ahead. That is a photo of what our new hospital is going to look like, and the map shows our general coverage area, although that is kind of limiting because we do have people that are flown in from all over the US that come to the hospital. So, okay. All right, some of the things that we do with injury prevention, we do a lot of patient car seat evaluations. We have something called a tolerance test where we have to discharge a child who's been born under a certain weight or been a part of our NICU. So we participate in that. Yeah, everything from smoking cessation, hand washing, safe travel, all the things. We work with physical therapy and occupational therapy, and we have multiple OCCs. One of our new ones in the Manatee area is out in Lakewood Ranch off of White Eagle. And then we are the lead agency for Safe Kids Florida Suncoast, which covers Pinellas, Polk, Pasco, Sarasota, and Manatee. Lucky me, I get to add Hillsborough into that as well for Johns Hopkins because I do the bike pedestrian safety in that area and I am a Hillsborough resident. So next one, please. All right, so our e-bike and bike mobility task force was started because of the increased injuries and trends that we're seeing in our community. So I just want to share with you a little summary of some of the things that we talk about. Some of the slides you'll see are just some things we recently talked about. But as you know, with these products being out there, this is an ever-changing landscape. And we really got together as a group so that we could troubleshoot some of these things that are happening. Since we started this, it is a regional task force. We did start by inviting, just the general region, but since then we have added people from the other coast. There are people all the way south from Miami-Dade area, and we now have a large group of injury prevention people from Tallahassee that are watching some of the things that we're doing, and hopefully that will get some attention and help us with some of the legislative issues. Go ahead. So I'll let you guys go ahead and read that. This is our purpose and vision. So the big thing that we want to focus on when we're talking in our communities is the consistent messaging. We know that what is happening is a modge podge of things that are going on, but we all want to be on the same page when we're doing education. And we want to make sure that the messaging is clear so that when it is transferred from one person or one agency on to parents and people who are on these products, that we are all on the same page and talking the same language. So go ahead. All right, so some of the reasons we started the task force were to address, of course, the rising issues. We do cover the Tampa Bay area and beyond. There's a variety of agencies ranging from trauma centers to law enforcement. There are some CTST people on there. We have Bike Club on there. There is just a large group of people, from people that don't have any knowledge about what's happening with e-bikes and just want to learn more, to people who are absolute experts and teach me something absolutely every time we're on there. We usually have around 60 to 70 people attend. That first meeting was 68 people. I think we're around 69, 70 this last meeting. We do kind of split the groups up so that people aren't too obligated. We do an education meeting, we do a law enforcement meeting, and then we kind of do a full group meeting. Everyone is welcome to attend every meeting. We do everything virtually so that it's a nice, easy lift and we can get as many people on there as possible. And we do it the second Wednesday of every month from 2 to 3. The way to get on that group is just email me and let me know that you are interested, and I will add you to the invite. One of the other things we have done is created some educational materials, and we recently released a video as of last Friday that was filmed for the sole purpose of this task force. FDOT funded it, and we were able to get that rolled out. So I will, because it's so new and I wasn't able to share the link up until today, I will share that and you guys are able to use it as you see fit. Next. All right, so a couple things. We did get a good statistic from Sarasota County for Sarasota Memorial that they had about a 40% rise in accidents with electric bikes and scooters. And that is, of course, following the national trends. The national trends, we typically are looking to agencies like NHTSA, who provide some solid data of the feedback that they are getting. We do utilize Signal 4 analytics as well, but we try to keep our data pretty simple because we all see it every day. So we don't analyze too much of the data. We are more talking about the troubleshooting and some things that we can do as a group to prevent some of these injuries. I don't know if you are familiar with who Dr. Megan Martin is. She is also known as Dr. Beach Gem 10 on social media. She is in our emergency room. She has put out some videos at the request of our task force to target what's happening as we're seeing it. So she is on the task force. She will speak up from time to time and tell some tips and tricks about how to get those videos out there effectively. But then she will create a video based on some things that have come out of the task force meeting at our request, because she does have such a big following. I made a comment on one of her e-bike videos and John Cusack commented, or he liked my comment. So there you go. She has some clout behind her. So we're fully utilizing that. Next, please. All right, so just some statistics that our trauma people gave us. Basically, you could go through all these numbers if you wanted to, but what we really wanted to show was that blue line, where is the number of injuries that are happening, compared to the green line, which was just a year apart. So that is what we are seeing in our hospital. Dr. Martin has said that she will be on a shift, and sometimes it is as much as every other trauma alert that is coming in is related to some kind of micromobility product. And our data clearly backs that up. Go ahead. All right, so some of the outcomes that we've had so far from the task force, we've developed some educational materials that we can share. This is an example of one that we created for Johns Hopkins and Safe Kids. It is branded, of course. However, when we did that video, we tried to keep it very unbranded and very generic so that all agencies could use it as well as school districts. Our hope is that it is a 3-minute video and we're gonna, cut some snippets out of it of the important pieces so that school districts can use it as well, hoping that they will use it during morning announcements because that is when they have their students as captive audiences. I have done some short videos like that with school districts before, and that is a really effective way to utilize that. So we are doing some comparisons of some of the ordinances that are happening. The LEL website is a great place to look for those. And then we are also doing some evaluations and sharing of effective campaigns. Manatee County Sheriff's Office recently posted a video on Facebook and Instagram of them pulling over 2 teenagers who are riding e-motos. And I am getting ready to send out a follow-up to the task force that includes that video so that everyone who has not seen it is able to. Sarasota Police Department had also done a stop a while back of a 16-year-old who was riding an e-moto illegally on a roadway. All right, go ahead. All right, simple decision tree that we helped create with input from others. Just kind of something a little different than the typical brochure that we're handing out to parents that sometimes we know that they're dropping it before they leave the event in the garbage can or throwing it away if we are sending it home from school. This gives them a visual that's just a little bit different than some of the other things we were seeing. Thank you. So manufacturer labels have come up many times because what is being seen on the roads is not always identifiable. The manufacturers do have laws saying that they have to identify the products. So here are some examples of what those look like. As you can see, the first picture, how teeny tiny small that is. And that happens to be on the side of the bike where you really could spot it. But some of them are underneath or on a bar that is really hard to see. So you have to really look for them. You can't just see them as they're riding by you. So the second picture shows a blown up picture of that. It says class 2, 20 miles an hour and 750 watts, which is all the things we are looking for when we're trying to identify these products as they are whizzing by us. Number 3, I'm sorry, is a 500 watt, 20 mile an hour class 1. It does have a QR code on there. That is probably a video to the manufacturer instructions, and it actually has a manufacturer date, 3/21 on there, which I thought was pretty interesting. I don't always see that. Go ahead. So why is regulating these so hard? That is just a loaded question, of course, but here are 2 examples. That label I just showed you, Amazon is selling those labels in a generic form. You can see this one says class 3, 750 watts. Those are being popped on bikes, and people who do not know any better that the manufacturer name should be on there do not know that they are looking at something that is not accurate. Also, one of the first things we discovered was false advertising on the online venues. So parents are going to an online source and typing in class 3 e-bike, and things that are 6,000 watts are popping up. And it actually says class 3 electric bike, 1 line down from the 6,000 watts. Not uncommon, they're still out there. However, I know California has been effective in regulating some of this. And since we've had this conversation and shared some of these photos that we have found of these miscommunication things that are happening online, I am not seeing as many as those as I was. Now, the stickers I just pulled up a few days ago. So those are definitely out there and people are figuring out how to work that system. The other thing that I didn't put on here is people are adding pedals to the e-motos to make them look like they're e-bikes. At first they were adding some stationary pedals, but they have got creative and added moving pedals so that the bike has to really be examined so that you have to look and see that they are not hooked to anything and it is not an e-bike. Go ahead. There is a larger picture of a different one that was discovered by one of our members. Again, 6,000 watts, and clearly on the picture says a class 3 e-bike. So as much as I like to blame other people for things that are happening, it is just not always the case. Sometimes people are trying to do the right thing and don't know what they're purchasing because there is a lot of misinformation out there. All right, so one of the things I do is I support schools. I do cover that 6-county area and all the school districts. I have presented at the school boards. I'm a helmet fitter trainer, so I have trained staff and a lot of SROs to be helmet fitters so that they have access to all those things without me being present. So you can go ahead. So our team can give out free helmets. And we can also train people to be a helmet fitter. I do go to schools and provide student education, which includes presentations, some targeted handouts, and vocabulary lists. I can also do writing prompts for some of the older grades, and especially now that we are having middle schools and high schools request our services, I will add that. I am a former educator in many counties around Florida, and I am still certified, so I have access to all the standards and anything that schools need to help us get in and not make them feel like their time is being wasted. Go ahead. Here's a couple pictures of what visits look like. I a lot of times just go on the PE field, and that is typically because I can get music and art to join, which means I have a lot of students, basically a whole entire grade level at one time. I can do it without AV. I absolutely don't need to have a PowerPoint presentation. Sometimes, depending on the group, it's more effective to keep everybody's attention. I do keep it pretty short. Their class sizes or their class times are about 50 minutes. So I try to keep my presentation short so that we do have time to fit helmets. When I do have a large group, I will bring a team of helmet fitters with me. So you can see in the background, those are Target Zero and FDOT people who have joined me at a school to assist me in getting the helmets fitted for those kids that need it. This particular school had 2 children struck at different times of the school year by vehicles while riding to school. Go ahead. And some of the resources that we have available through Safe Kids and Johns Hopkins are reflectors, which is that lower t-shirt looking picture at the bottom. We have bike lights. We have helmets, of course. We do not get our helmets through the UF program, although we do purchase the same ones as the UF program for consistency purposes. However, this last school year, I did a pilot in Polk County schools where I ordered bike helmets that are the more multi-sport style. They're not certified as multi-sport, but they are the multi-sport style, still with the regular certification as a bike helmet. I think kids like those better, and they don't have visors you have to attach, which is a really big bonus. And it went really well. So we are trying to make a decision if we're going to continue to add those into the community still. We just have to make sure we have a supply of the ones that are coming from UF so that when we partner up with other agencies, we're all passing out the same thing and we don't have people fighting over which helmet they're getting. Bookmark, we redesigned this bookmark with the 5 steps to fitting a helmet. This is an amazing, super easy way to hand out a resource. So the first side has a QR code that is to our safety video that we created with our Baltimore affiliate. It is the safety video that we show to patients and families when they are in our hospital for any type of bike-related injury. And then on the other side is the 5 steps. It is a cardstock type material. So when you put it on a table at an event, it does not fly away, which is amazing. Go ahead. And then one of the other things we do is we encourage the walk bike to school day. This year, October 7th is walk to school and May 5th is bike to school. We do encourage schools that are participating to go ahead and just let their groups that come normally either biking or walking join in the celebrations together. Some schools do both and some schools will pick one. They do have that website that they can register. They do get a national shout out for that. Anyone who registers in our 5-county area, I will send them a package of goodies to support their event. And then we try to determine who needs assistance based on a lot of schools that are out there. We will usually support the schools that do not have a certified helmet fitter on staff so that when kids are riding up without a helmet, we can be there to support them. So if anyone is ever interested in participating, I think we had 8 schools in Sarasota last year that participated. We are a staff of 3, so right there we're outnumbered, and we still had 4 other counties to support. So anybody who wants to participate, we are always welcome to that. And next. And then we do a bike safety poster contest. We are going to go ahead and open it up to high schools this year. We have done elementary and middle in the past. We give a safety message via videos, and then we added a e-bike safety flyer this last year, and we asked them to create a poster. Doesn't need to be poster size. It can be regular 8x10 size using whatever medium they want to use. So they can do painting, they can do coloring with crayons. It doesn't matter. It is not about the artwork. It is about getting the education out. So schools who are participating are showing in art class our safety videos and getting them to thousands of students at a time. So we're educating kids in a different way through an avenue that we wouldn't normally think of doing. The information usually is sent out to the districts around mid-January, and we collect the entries before spring break. We do give out pretty generous prizes. The kids get super excited. The teachers sometimes get super excited. I try to give the teachers a little gift of some sort, just a goodie bag or something, either when I'm at their school or if they're participating. And yeah, we're hoping the high school thing goes well. We're interested because of the e-bikes happening, if the high school students are going to participate or not. So next. Here's a couple examples. The safety wheel is very popular in art classes. It's one of the standard things that they teach. So teachers have been able to reproduce that and make it into a safety product. The 2 at the bottom, we actually reproduced, and we put bike ped safety information on the back of those things. The one that is black and white, I mean, that was a middle school student who had a marketing concept that is just unbelievable. That's a black and white photo that says be bright and stay in sight. Everyone loves that one. The other one that we reproduced is on the bottom as well. And that was a 9-year-old who painted that. And it really stood out to us that the lights on the front of the bike match the car, same thing on the back of the bike, because we actually teach that verbatim in schools. Next. And then finally, this is my contact information. So again, I'm with Johns Hopkins All Children's, Safe Kids Florida Suncoast. I am very rarely in my office because you will find me in schools and at events, and I'm usually in my car driving to those places. So cell phone is amazing. Email through work is amazing as well. You can have my office number, but I just have to retrieve it and call you back on my cell phone anyway. So there you go. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope that was helpful.
Any questions for Sheila? Well, you're doing some good work, and good luck to you. And if
Thank
we can
you.
be of assistance, let us know. And
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And last on our partner presentations is the Madison County e-bike safety initiatives, Jody Fisk.
It's the right button. The right button? Oh, right button. Okay, there we go. Hi, I'm Jody Fisk. I'm the Public Safety Director for Manatee. I will probably be really quick. So July 29th of 25 is when the Board of Commissioners approved ordinance 2535. It's pretty general. It lays out the only age restriction in there currently is 16 years of age. Under that is not allowed to operate a class 3 bike. We also included the definitions of class 1, 2, and 3, although as Sheila just pointed out, it apparently doesn't mean as much as you want it to. We restricted the sidewalk speed limit of 15 miles an hour. So it's very general. The problem is that this is only on public roadways. So we are having a lot of issues within gated communities with the kids bouncing in and out and doing all the stuff and things that they are not supposed to do. We pulled some data from EMS. So we actually went back a little bit further to 2021, where we had a total of, this is the number of EMS calls that were dispatched. And the data is a little bit skewed because it doesn't specify between bicycle or e-bike. We have changed that now in ECC. So if somebody dials 911 and says that someone just got hit by a car on a bike, the next question is it a bicycle or an e-bike? Just so we can get some better numbers. But you can see in the numbers, 2021, we had a total number of 20 calls for the year for bicycle or e-bikes where EMS had to be dispatched. As of yesterday, we're at 154 total calls for the year, and that actually exceeds the 2025 number, which was 110. Most common causes of the fatalities, obviously people versus car, never tends to end well for the person who is not in the car. Loss of control of the devices where the kids are going a lot faster than they're supposed to. They're getting tossed off of them. I understand there's a new safety feature on the e-scooters where if their kids are going at the max speed and they hit a bump, the brakes automatically engage, they turn them into little slingshots. And then there's a small percentage of fatalities that were actually associated with fires from lithium batteries. So since we are in hurricane season, I will take the opportunity to remind everybody, do not keep those stored in your house, in your garage. And if you're in a surge area, please move your electric car away from the salt water. 2017 to 2024, World Health Organization was reporting 533 fatalities. We're seeing emergency room visits up over 500,000 a year with e-bike injuries nationwide. And in 2024, specifically, they reported 135 fatalities. Sheila covered it a little bit. The most common injuries we're seeing, traumatic brain injury in children. There are not enough pediatric providers to treat the amount of children that are being injured and diagnosed with traumatic brain injury. Broken bones, burns and road rash, and oddly enough, we are seeing a lot of amputations of toes and feet because children are riding these bikes in flip-flops, Crocs, and barefoot. Sheila touched on the helmet, so I'm not going to go into any of that. The ordinance that we wrote is in line with Florida State Statute 316 to talk about local government authority. Now, as of 2025, local governments have the options to impose a minimum age requirement for e-bike or micromobility operations and can require that all riders carry a government or photo ID. So if anybody watches our board meetings, I'm forced to sit in there all day long. Commissioner McCann has given the ordinance back to public safety with a couple of directives. The first one being, he wants stronger definitions for right-of-way, sidewalks, bike path, bike lane. Gotta be honest, I don't know how we can possibly make those more clear, but we're gonna try. He wants a little bit more language in there specific to e-motos, which I think the sheriff's office would tell you we see more issues with those on sidewalks. If you haven't checked out the sheriff's Facebook page, the video of their officers doing a stop on these two kids who were on e-motos on the sidewalk is fantastic. That officer did an excellent job of educating those kids and the parent when they got on scene. We really need to see more of that. We are looking at an age restriction. We have it currently with the county attorney's office to enhance our ordinance to say nobody in Manatee County under the age of 16 can operate any micromobility device on a public roadway. I am fully prepared for a lot of very, very angry parents in the community, since a good number of them purchase these devices for their kids to ride to and from school, which means they could ride their micromobility device to the gates of their gated community. But the second that they hit a public roadway, they could be stopped. The school board has agreed to help us support that. If that is the direction the board chooses to go, that would be put into effect January 1st of 2027. And the school board would then no longer allow children to keep those devices at the school. So if a kid rides their e-scooter, they will be sent home, or their parents will be called and have to come pick up the device. I think at the end of the day, we are all in agreement that some of what we're seeing with the kids is a behavior issue. So parents don't tend to really get heavily involved in that until we start to inconvenience them. So in that vein, we are also going to be enhancing the ordinance with an actual penalty tiered system. So first offense will have a monetary fine amount and a mandatory half-a-day safety course that the parents must attend with their child. I don't know how many parents we have in the room, but if my kid takes away half of my Saturday because I have to go sit through remedial driver's ed with them, I own their micro mobility device. Second offense will be a higher monetary value, with the third offense being about as high as we can go. And I'm not stating any numbers because we are going to let the Board of County Commissioners work within their framework. I have seen jurisdictions where the first offense is $100, but I have also seen jurisdictions where the first offense is $500. I'm going to let our commissioners let us know how aggressive they really want us to be with that. Deltona, I think if you saw the news, they enacted an ordinance that said nobody under the age of 18 in their jurisdiction could use a micromobility device, and I think it lasted a month before they had to come back and rescind it. So a lot of this really is very driven by public support or outrage. So I can't really commit to any of these changes. We could bring this to the Board of County Commissioners and they could say, nope, go back to the drawing board. At which point, if they tell me to get creative, I'm just going to take all of them, because this has rapidly become my least favorite topic. We are working with the Sheriff's Office, the school board. Sheila, sorry, it's the second time you've had to sit through this particular presentation. We're also engaging with some of the schools directly, especially those in District 5, where we are seeing the most issues with micromobility devices. So more to come on that. This is my contact information if anybody has any questions. I do not have an ETA on when exactly this will go to the board. It is currently sitting with the county attorney's office for review. And then we do have additional briefings that we're doing with each commissioner to get their input. So I am not surprised on the day of the board meeting. And that is all I have.
Any questions for Jody? Good luck. Thank you. And let's go around the table. Nick, you have anything else?
No.
Bruce?
Last several meetings, we've talked about e-assist bikes. And as a bike pedestrian trail advisory committee, I would like to see we spend probably half of a meeting to sit down as a group, classify and make recommendations to our MPO area. Obviously, we have the sheriff here in the room and they have their rules, but I can tell you, living in Northport on the sidewalks, whether it's kids or adults doing 30 miles an hour on the sidewalks, it's unrelenting and it's got to stop. I can't tell you how many people, because they know I'm on the Bike Pedestrian Trail Advisory Committee, have asked me what the committee is suggesting to its community. I think that we have an opportunity and a responsibility to this committee to talk and make recommendations, because we all see it every day and we're listening to everybody's presentations, but we haven't made an effective representation and suggestion to our community. Just like to see that on the minutes in the future.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I was just gonna add some comments on here. I guess I have a forum, I could say this. A lot of the actions that are occurring that I have seen and witnessed to and actually worked were, a lot of the e-bikes are going on the opposite direction of traffic, but they're on the sidewalks. Per statute, that's allowed. I think one of the major education problems we run into is the fact that the e-bikes, no matter class 1, class 2, 3, or e-motors, do not understand that once you go on the sidewalk, you're now a pedestrian, you're a walker. So that does not automatically mean you can dart out in front of traffic because you come to a marked crosswalk. You still, like any pedestrian walking, would stop and look to make sure there's no traffic coming. So these guys all think they're faster than light, so they'll start out in front of these cars and they'll get tagged. So that is a huge problem, and it's an education problem and enforcement. Unfortunately, they're going so fast on the sidewalk, it's a little hard for us popo to put on the lights, turn around. And then we got, of course, catch the e-bikes or e-motors or whatever. And then you can see that this kind of snowballs into a point where you're like, well, why bother? He's not going to stop, or she won't stop. So that's a problem. We did receive $78,000 for the high visibility enforcement grant. The sheriff's office is FDOT funds. But again, those go to the areas with a lot of fatalities. So even though there might be, and hypothetically, let's just say there was an e-motor and a person was killed at Lake Lawrence 70, not that it happened yet, but let's just say you would not be able to see any of that funding for us to be out in that area until at least 5 years. So sometimes what you're seeing and why we're all heavily enforcing down on 14th Street West is because 5 years ago, a few people were killed on a regular bicycle. And as Ms. Rainey advised, 5 years ago, or was it Ms. Fisk? I don't know, somebody, there was 20 crashes with bicycles, and now all of a sudden we're at 154 in county. So we have to kind of remember where this data is coming from and how long it takes for these things to trend forward in order to see any productive gains. So those are my comments. That's all I have.
I assume this has been like in the last couple of years, this has just been a major new headache for all of law enforcement. Correct.
I think it's been a headache for everybody. I mean, everybody in here is pretty disgusted with the driving behavior, both on the roadways by motorists themselves, but now we have the e-bikes and everybody's zipping around on the sidewalks. So I think it's a society change, honestly.
Well, thank you.
Nothing.
Patrick?
Say I wrote a couple down here. Wanted to just say, respond to Danny, and the repurposing of the Blackbird Bridge. Discussing with our bridge engineer, and it is possible to repurpose that bridge, and does sound like it would be probably a good idea to explore reusing that. I think there has been some discussion about that bridge and at least the importance of the community. The feedback is they want to maintain that heritage somehow, so this might be an opportunity to do that. I will say though that our board is voting, I think on November 17th, that's the date that they'll be voting to decide whether to replace that bridge or repair it. There are some options on the table there for them to decide. Obviously, if they repair it, we won't have a bridge to repurpose, but if they decide to rebuild it, then that's something we could probably look into. And I think those options that Dan was highlighting probably would make some sense. So just wanted to give a little more context to that. Sarasota County with the e-bike stuff, we are kind of taking an approach right now. We were kind of earlier in the year, we do some education stuff, we do some outreach. We did some earlier in the year. It's coming up September down in Northport for e-bikes and stuff. But the main, since the governor vetoed the original changes, we are now, since we're going to be starting to update to our bike ped master plan in the fall, I think it's prudent for us to get some more public engagement on that, what the county residents want to see in terms of how the counties can move forward with legislating e-bikes. So, I mean, everything's on the table. I think the point taken is that things change very quickly through the e-bike lens. So hopefully the master plan process will give us some ground to stand on and maybe get some consensus for how we should do that. But and that's just want to give that quick update about Sarasota County's movement on that. Thank you.
Patrick. My eyes no longer work that well. I can get about
Nail 'em
two
in,
people down the table.
Just quick update, we're in the early planning stages of our annual mobility event that's typically in the fall. Obviously, we can provide you with some details when that happens, but last year we did do a non-street bike ride in Lakewood Ranch. This year, we're still looking at locations and other opportunities. We'll provide details when available. That's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Nothing here.
I do have a few updates. The first is specifically about the Circus Trail extension into Bobby Jones. So we are actively working on completing 30% design on that now. So that's aiming for the fall. I think we were looking at completion now, but the clubhouse design changes now, the trail alignment has to change. But we'll be wrapping that up soon. So the next step then will be putting out an RFP to solicit proposals to complete design and bring that to 100%. So we'll be ready to go to construction in the next fiscal year. So we are on schedule there. With us looking at construction, we know that we need to coordinate with Sarasota County on the connection into 17th Street. We'll likely have to get into an agreement on that location. Currently, the design has the trail ending in a cul-de-sac, so we want to make sure that we've got a connection there moving forward. Then in July, we met with Sarasota County and Trust for Public Land to look at the Legacy Trail extension north of Fruitville. I think the original vision was to use the existing rail easement, which is currently an active rail. After talking to Trust for Public Land and Sarasota County, the city agreed to take a look at an alternate route in case the rail easement is not a short-term feasible option. So we are taking a look at that alignment, updating cost estimates, and we'll be presenting that to our partners in the next few months, hopefully. Then lastly, we are wrapping up our traffic calming master plan. We'll be taking that to the city commission in the next few months. We're currently finalizing prioritization of traffic calming measures. So we have a few open houses coming up in September. The first one is on September 2nd. So I'll share information with MPO staff to distribute that among your partners. So please feel free to attend. This is really an effort to slow down speeds on our local roads. There are a few county roads that were flagged and of course also state roads. So Tanya, we'd love to see you at a few of those, but we'll be passing on those specific roadways to those partners as well. And that's what I've got. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Nothing to report.
And thank you for the presentations. I think they've been very informative. As president of the Florida Bicycle Association, we've been working hard to try to create a statewide educational methodology so we can have some consistency throughout the state of Florida. You can go to floridabicycle.org/e-bikes and you'll find an awful lot of literature, education, and things like that. We can regulate the bicycles, but we can't change the behavior without education. And I think we really have a lot of bad actors out there that are giving e-bikes and cyclists a bad name. And we have to work hard to enforce the existing laws that we currently have, such as the helmet law. And when I ride my bicycle in the morning and I see these kids going to school without helmets, that should be our job number one, to find a way to solve that problem. And then job number two, obviously, let's see if we can stop the sale of these, electric rockets that these kids are riding, that the parents are riding. But, we really have got to spend time on education. Please use the Florida Bicycle Association as a resource. We have league certified instructors. And again, on our website, we've put a lot of worked with a lot of different areas in the state to try to come up with solutions and ideas to fix this statewide problem. It is a problem. It is a crisis. We have bad actors breaking the law, and that's got to stop. Thank you.
Just to follow up, in conversations with central office, we're not anticipating to have a central request for funding this cycle. So just keep that in mind, all my local agencies. That's where we're at right now, because we're trying to continue completing the projects that have already started, and the funding is going towards that. So funds are spoken for. And the new fifth year, if potentially for a new project, but as I say right now, I'm trying to focus on finishing what we have out there. They're all in different phases, so let's continue along that route. And as we all know, costs have been increasing versus what was it initially anticipated. So that's what I have for you right now.
This is a question to the MPO staff, to Bruce's point. Could we have a discussion on what we feel are safety issues involving e-bikes? And maybe the staff and your organization could come up with some bullet points on what you see as would be top line issues if we did draw up a policy? I mean, we're just an advisory committee, so we can't.
First, yeah, I would say first and foremost, it would have to be taken up. You can certainly make recommendations to the board to take a formal stance. But the board would have to be the entity in which
Oh, absolutely.
they would formally put out a position on that. I would say there's a lot of good information today on e-bikes generally, both from the legality standpoint, the health standpoint. There seems to be a back and forth between state legislature and local agencies on whose responsibility it is to dictate the laws on our roadways.
My only question is, we're an advisory committee.
Correct.
So all we can do is advise, but we could come out with a statement. This is our, as an advisory committee, this is what we think.
You can make a recommendation to the
Right,
board.
and that can be all it is, and they can read it and do
Absolutely.
something with it, or they can read it and say, well, that's nice, and
No, exactly. I mean, and the reality is, I think it's a conversation that's been discussed at length at the board already. At this point, it's been discussed at the last 3 meetings. And exactly that is, we heard from Manatee County today, is what direction are each of these entities going to take individually to maybe have a larger regional vision and push back at state level? Because ultimately, the data we've seen today dictates that there's a change in behavior. A lot of that might have been due to data collection and people not accurately reporting e-bike crashes, but their prevalence in today's market is undeniable and is continuing to grow. So what we do in that measure is we need to continue to change the way we approach it. We can't be as stagnant as we have been in the past with our reporting. Same with Signal 4 and the data where we collect. It needs to be more accurate. It doesn't come down to just our police saying that they need to report it better. We need to give them better tools to do that. It is difficult at times. You're not going to drive through somebody's backyard and chase down a kid on an e-bike, right? That's just not a reasonable response. So there are a lot of things that we need to do, not only ourselves in each of our individual agencies, but regionally as the MPO, we can certainly ask our board to take a more formal stance on how we want to approach the e-bike situation.
what about this group?
That this group can make a direct recommendation to the board from the bike ped
Because
committee.
we're from grassroots
Correct.
group, so we, if our opinion.
If there's specific language that you'd like to have included in a statement to the board, which they could review and potentially move into a policy, that's something that this group could do. So we can continue to have that on the agenda for discussion purposes going forward. If that's what
So if
somebody
the
would like.
MPO has issues, I think that there are issues that you could see that
Yeah,
sort of rise to the top, and the other folks in this room are smarter than I am on these issues, that they'd like to see in sort of just a general statement. At least we could have that discussion.
yeah, absolutely. We can pull together some of the high-level topics that y'all can take a
Well,
look at.
thank you. I don't mean to be adding to your workload.
No.
Sounds like you've got plenty to do.
No, and I've got a couple other things I just want to touch real briefly. That's why I'm standing up here. First and foremost, I want to welcome Adriana to our team. She just joined us as a senior planner, so we're glad to have her on board, and she'll certainly be more involved with this group as she gets more involved in the MPO's processes. The other is a not so cheerful conversation, I think, and more related to legislative appropriations and the things that are happening with work program. One being, as Tanya already mentioned, there will be no additional funding this year for Sunshine. We're going to continue to move forward priorities that we already have. That's number one. The other is a large scale rebalancing of the work program that's underway currently, which we're having to kind of take a look at. So our region requested approximately $40 million in appropriations requests. About $17.25 million of those were approved, meaning $17.5 million had to come back out of the work program for projects that were already funded. So that being said, we saw 7 projects within our MPO area, all kind of proposed for construction, utilizing SU dollars to fund those, be deferred until 2028. We're also having ongoing discussions with the department for potential cuts to future projects to deal with those appropriations that have been funded. So you will see a number of safety projects, like head projects, almost across the board, with the exception of state legislatively required projects. So CIS, for example, resurfacing ports, airports, those will likely be untouched. But anything from capacity down can be impacted based on the need to backfill legislative appropriations and member project requests. So we will keep you informed of that as we move forward. We don't have anything formal yet of what is going to be potentially cut from the work program. I do have a list of deferments which will be brought forward to the TAC and the board in September. So that is a moving target. And one we hope to have good and healthy conversation with our electeds regarding what those do to the approved budget and the work program that's already out there. So with that, I don't have anything else to add at this point, unless you have any questions about
Do
appropriations.
you see that as standard operating procedure going forward, or do you see that as just a one-time?
Well, let's say
If you could answer that question, you wouldn't be.
Well, let's say hopefully not, right? Because they do have kind of a cascading or domino effect, if you will. So think about $18 million being deferred until next year. If we ask for $18 million again next year, those projects will then have to be deferred yet again. So it does create a kind of everlasting effect if you continue to request at that same rate. The problem is we're also introducing new projects into the stream. A lot of those are early design phases or early project development environmental phase versus projects that are nearing construction. A lot of those were deferred. Not too hard to figure out where a lot of the money is in projects that are currently slated for construction. So you have to balance with what's available within that given year. So those are a lot of things that we're attempting to deal with on a scale without having major impacts across the board. But it is a shell game for the department in terms of it's zero sum after the budget is approved. So $200 million statewide had to then be reallocated to meet the requests of those member projects. So ideally, that's not something we deal with at the same scale year over year. The state's ability to cover with contingency funds has declined over the last 5 years post-COVID. Hence the ability not to fund a large number of Sun Trail projects. There's just a lot less pots to draw that money from. So we just need to be very cognizant if we are requesting for money, primarily out of the Highway Trust Fund, that it will have pretty illicit impacts to all of our other projects.
Well, good luck.
Not great news, but it's one that I want you all to be aware of and things that we're gonna have to continue to deal with going forward. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else for the good of the group? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. We're done.
It's November 17th. See? Okay, adjourn at 3:48.